Hi, I'm Kira. If you've been to the channel before, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here for this yoga flow for hamstring mobility. This is by request. I've had a lot of students really want to increase their hamstring mobility. And tight hamstrings, you could be experiencing that for a lot of reasons. In some cases, it might be because your hamstrings are underutilized and they're weak, so you need to strengthen them. Or you might be someone like a runner who's just using your hamstrings all the time, so they feel tight for a different reason. So whatever's going on, we're gonna do a two-prong approach, stretching and strengthening your hamstrings today with yoga-inspired movements. You'll need a set of yoga blocks and also a wall for one stretch at the end. Let's start laying down on our backs. So one of the best ways to fire up your hamstrings right away is to come into a bridge pose with your feet far away from you. So that's what we're gonna do. Lift the hips and walk the feet farther away from your butt. Firmly press your palms down, lift the hips up. And feet can be down or toes can be lifted, really up to you, but press the hips up. And you're gonna feel your hamstrings start talking to you pretty quick, probably your glutes as well. Make sure you're breathing. And this should invite some heat straight off the bat. Okay, let's lower the hips down now. Take some easy windshield wipers side to side with the knees. Good. And now pause with your heels dug into the mat, your toes lifted, and bring the elbows in close to the body and the fingers up like little robot arms. And we'll come back into our long bridge here. So we'll lift the hips up, drive the elbows down, snuggle the shoulders into the body, and then lift one foot up, and then switch, right leg lifts. So we're marching in a bridge with the feet pretty far away from us. Now, if you want to make this even more challenging, you'll plant your feet further away from your butt. And look at your hips as you do this. You want to keep the hips pretty level, pretty stable as you alternate which leg you're lifting. Breathing through and really driving that heel into the earth as it plants and lifting the hips up a lot. Let's do about one more each side wherever you are. Good, and lower the hips down. Take some windshield wipers. And then draw your right knee into your chest and interlace your hands behind your right thigh. Now your left foot can stay on the earth or you can extend it long for more stretch. Right leg will extend up to the ceiling just as much as you can. Leg doesn't have to be all the way straight. From here, we're gonna curl the head and shoulders up off the mat. Hover your left foot if it's extended. Now, when we're in a position like this and we're stretching our hamstrings, you'll often see people really like yanking the leg close to their chest. I want you to do the opposite here. I want you to press the back of your thigh into your interlaced grip. Continue to breathe. Flex both feet a lot. So yes, there's some gentle pulling action of the right leg towards the chest, but you're pressing the back of your thigh into the interlaced grip even more. So we're activating the hamstrings to increase our flexibility. Let's take one more breath in, breath out, lower down, bend right knee into a supine twist. So left hand to the right knee, pulling it across the body, and the right arm reaching away. Breathe in, breathe out, and come onto your back. We'll take that on the second leg. So left leg lifts, interlace hands behind the thigh, right foot parked on the mat or extended. Head and shoulders lift, and then the right leg hovers. So both feet are flexed and active. There's a gentle pull of the left leg towards you, but in opposition, you're pressing the back of left thigh into the interlaced grip, really charging up the legs. Breathe. One more breath in. And out. Release. Bend the left knee, supine twist. Inhale. Exhale. Come onto your back again, draw both knees in. Happy baby pose. Reach for the outer edges of your feet, your shins or the backs of your thighs, and choose the version of happy baby where your breath is easeful and your low back is grounded. So often in class, I see people like obsessed with grabbing their outer feet and their butts way off the air. So if this is like your happy baby, it does not look comfortable, right? Maybe instead you grab the backs of the legs so your low back can stay grounded. An interesting thing about improving your flexibility is you've got to build trust with the body. So if we try to yank the body into shapes, it's not going to cooperate. The muscles will contract. But if we build that element of trust by easing into our shapes, we get a better result over time. All right, let's grab onto the backs of the legs and take some rocks and rolls up and down the spine. A couple times with that, eventually popping up to sit and making your way onto all fours, tabletop position. Shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. So bring your awareness to your sits bones, those little bones at the base of your seat that sometimes you can feel like planting on a chair or on the ground. And I want you to think of lifting those guys up towards the ceiling as you let the belly drop and you arch your spine. Cow pose, a familiar shape. But we're leading from the sitting bones in it. And now think of lengthening the tailbone down and rounding the upper back, pressing the ground away, and we're in cat. Inhale to cow, sitting bones lift. Exhale to cat, tailbone lengthens down toward the earth. And keep this going, thinking that you're leading from your hips. In your cat-cow, leading from the pelvis. Sitting bones tilt up, tailbone tilts up, and then tailbone lengthens down toward the earth. So this movement at the lower back is very important for standing forward bends, seated forward bends. We really need to have flexibility in the low back to be able to go deep in those stretches that can offer us a generous hamstring stretch. All right, that's enough of that. Let's make our way into downward facing dog, lifting the hips up and back. And take a wide stance with your feet and your hands and start to pedal through your legs. So if you experience tightness in the backs of your legs, good rule of thumb is take a wide stance in shapes like down dog or forward fold. Just give yourself more room, more space. Inhale to plank pose. Exhale, stay, shoulders over wrists, shoulders and hips in line, firming up the core here. Now let's pull the right knee into the chest and hover. And think of really pulling that right knee up towards your chest and driving back through your left heel. So we're working our hip compression here, which is vital for hinging forward in a forward fold. Something we're gonna do later. Let's step back to plank and then pull the left knee into the chest. Kick on your strong breath. Pull the chest up towards the thigh. Try not to let it go out to the side. Think thigh straight up to chest. Step back to plank, lift the hips up, downward dog. Walk the feet to the hands and the hands back to the feet. So we'll arrive somewhere in the middle of our mat. Now go ahead and have your yoga blocks nearby, especially if your hands do not touch the ground with ease. When you're folding forward like this, bring the floor to you, use your blocks. And let's bring the feet a bit wider than hips width distance, so a generous wide stance. Drop your head, fold forward. Take a soft bend in your knees. And remember your sits bones. Think of letting them tilt up towards the ceiling. And observe here if you're sort of hanging out in your heels. There's really a tendency to hang back in forward folding shapes. So counter that by just bringing a little more weight forward into the toes. Feel the belly approaching the thighs, maybe even touching them. Good. And now lean your hips to the right. Bend your left knee And keep the weight forward in the toes. Whew, you'll probably feel a big old stretch in the back of the right leg here. And then lean the hips to the left. Right knee bends, left leg straightens. And then back to the right. Right leg straightens, left knee bends. Hips lean to the right. Hips lean to the left. Right knee bends. And so on and so forth. Just a slow shifting of your weight side to side. And this will really target the hamstrings, lengthening the backs of the legs. You may even feel some contact of your belly against your thigh. There's that hip compression component again. And if you don't worry about it. Just keep allowing gravity to pull you forward and down. Let's meet back in the center and take a very slow roll up to stand. Still maintaining that soft bend in the knees, coming up. Slow, slow, slow. We've been down there for a while, so give the head a moment to come back above the heart. Okay, nice work. So, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite moves to strengthen the hamstrings. I learned this from one of my teachers, Kristen Leal. So right from where you are, bring the feet underneath you, hips width distance apart. And you're going to roll the shoulders back and place your hands at the spot where your buttocks connect with the backs of your thighs. So you're going to touch your own butt here. Let this bring the shoulders back. You're standing tall. Soft bend in the knees just so they're not locking out. Now watch this first. So you're standing up as straight as you can. You're going to begin to hinge forward at your hips with the soft bend in the knees. So you'll see here I'm stretching the crown of my head forward, stretching my sternum forward. I'm going to pause when I'm at about 90 degrees. Now, see how my body is pretty much making an L shape? So we don't want to be looking like this. We don't want to be rounding. We don't want to be overdoing it and arching, right? We're looking for that just right neutral spine position. And once I get there, I'm going to let myself round and fold all the way down, sliding the hands back down the backs of the legs is what I'm trying to say. And then I'll just come back up the way I went down. So crown of head reaching forward, sternum reaching forward. The hands are traveling up the backs of the legs as I make my slow ascent back to mountain pose. And you'll feel like 6 inches taller when you arrive. So let's give that a go. Bring your feet hips width distance, hands to the place where the tush connects with the backs of the legs. Roll the shoulders back and take a soft bend in your knees. Breathe in. Breathe out. Begin to hinge forward at your hips. So keep breathing. Feel the crown of your head lengthening forward, but your butt going back. So feel your spine super, super long here. And you're coming to about 90 degrees. Back of the heart is lengthening. And then you'll allow yourself to round and fold forward. And then you'll come back up. Crown of head leads. Sternum reaches forward. Hands are moving up the backs of the legs. We're coming to about 90 degrees, and then we're coming all the way up. Good, let's take it again. Hinging forward at the hips. Feel like the ears are pulling away from the shoulders. The side waist is lengthening away from the pelvis. We're coming all the way down. And then lifting up from a place of length. It's almost like a back bend on the way up. So head reaches forward, butt reaches back. We come on back up. One more time. Hinging forward. So much length, soft bend in the knees. So we're strengthening and stretching the backs of the legs. We're going to come all the way down to that forward bend. And then come up, and this time you're going to pause at 90 degrees. So you're going to pause at that 90-degree hip hinge, soft bend in the knees, and extend your arms forward. Keep breathing. Lengthen the back of your heart. Scoop your navel back towards your spine. The backs of your legs should be singing right now. A lot going on here. Keep breathing. Reach the fingertips forward, forward, forward to come up. So you're coming up with a strong, flat back. Release the arms by your sides. So that is an amazing way to both stretch and strengthen and just fully activate the backs of your legs. So let's come into some forward folds in flow and just see how they feel now after that exercise. So we'll come to the top of our mats and bring your blocks on their highest setting in case you would like to use them. So come to Tadasana. Let's do feet hips width distance. If the backs of your legs are super tight, I suggest an even wider stance here. Okay, so from here, inhale the arms out and up. Exhale, forward fold. Keep a soft bend in the knees as you fold forward over the legs. And if the ground is far away, use blocks. Inhale, half lift. Think of it leading from the crown of the head and then the sternum. So the back of the neck is long, and then fold forward again. Step your right foot back now to a lunge, hands on blocks. So we're just here in a runner's lunge. If your legs are super tight, you're gonna flip the blocks to the highest setting. From here, we'll shift back and straighten our front leg any amount, and I'm flexing my toes to my face to increase the stretch in that left side hamstring. And then I'll rebend and lunge. So we just go back and forth. Inhale to lengthen back. Exhale to lunge. Back and forth. Flossing the hamstrings. Keeping the sternum pulling forward, long spine as we lengthen the backs of the legs. The next time you bend your front knee, you're gonna hop forward and fold, top of the mat. Inhale, half lift, back of neck long. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Palms through prayer and by your side, Tadasana. Again, like that, second side. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Step your right foot back. Nope, left foot back for a lunge. So here we are again in our runner's lunge. Hands on blocks if we need it. And you'll shift back and straighten the front leg any amount, right? It can still be a little bit bent. And then we'll rebend all the way and shift back and forth, flossing the hamstrings. So this is what's called a dynamic stretch, where we're moving between two shapes. The body likes this, and it also likes long holds to improve our flexibility. We need to have a program that combines both those movements. The next time you bend the front knee, let's hop forward and fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Palms through prayer and down by your side, mountain pose. Step your feet wide now and turn your toes out. You're gonna lower down to a yogi squat, malasana. Sweep the arms out and up, and then bend the knees and lower down to malasana. So if this is a lot for your hips, you can sit on a block here or 2 blocks. Remember, to advance in your flexibility, you got to give yourself the support your body needs to trust you. So breathing way down into your hips. And then we're going to transition to seated. So if you're on some blocks, lift yourself up and off and try to make your way to the ground. Yeah, you might have to use your hands to get there, or you might try to reach forward to counter the weight of your pelvis coming down. So we'll meet here, seated, knees bent, feet on the floor. Grab onto the backs of your legs. We'll take a seated cat-cow. Inhale, arch your spine, look up. Exhale, round your spine, lean back. Inhale, chest forward, low back arches like cow. Exhale, spine rounds, leaning back like cat. So keep this going. We're working our hip compression again. And also stretching and lengthening the low back. The next time you pull the chest forward, stay and bring your feet together for Navasana boat pose. So before you take off into your boat, pull your chest to your thighs. So here's that hip compression again, right? The hip crease and the belly and the thigh coming closer together. This is essential for forward bending, that we increase this flexibility. So we're going to pull the chest to the thighs and try to lift the legs. So see how my spine is pretty straight here. I'm not rounding. So you can use the leverage of grabbing the backs of your thighs to make that happen. If you feel pretty confident here, maybe go hands free, pulling chest to thighs. This feels really great. Maybe you straighten your legs, but you don't have to. Keep breathing. Strengthening your core and your hip flexors. Hold for 3, for 2, and 1. Bring the feet down. Reverse tabletop. Bring the hands behind you and lift the hips and chest. Just a counter pose to unwind what we just did. And then lower your seat and extend your legs. So we're sitting down in sort of an L shape. Very common for people sitting like this to have a lot of rounding going on in the low back, just because we sit like this at computers all day, and it has an effect on our skeletons and our muscles. So if this feels like you're not able to quite sit up and out of your pelvis, I want you to take a cushion or a blanket and just wedge it under your bum so that when you extend your legs, you're sort of sitting up and out of the pelvis like this. From here, let's bend the knees, bring the feet about hips width, and we'll take a seated forward fold, or a version of Paschimottanasana, we call it in yoga. So you'll hinge forward at your hips, similar feeling to that boat pose, and see if you can make contact with your feet. Doesn't matter if you can't, but if you can, try to take a yogi toe lock around your big toes, and think of pulling your sternum forward, pulling your belly to your thighs. Breathe here. We're going to hang out here for a little while, about 10 breaths. So feel the spine lengthening. You'll probably feel the muscles of the back working to maintain your upright posture. And absolutely no pressure to, but if you're feeling good here, you might extend the heels a little bit more towards straight or straightish. So lovingly meet yourself where you are. Flexibility is a muscle, which means we have to work it, but we can't change it in a day. So allow for steady and slow progress. That is the safe progress. Try to breathe into the skin of your whole back here. Final inhale. And exhale. And slowly come up. Okay. Just shake the legs out. So that was an active forward fold. We're going to end our practice with a passive forward fold, which is a great way to train your hamstring flexibility. So we're going to use the wall for this. Because of my space, this is my wall, this extremely heavy chair. So you're going to come over to a wall and just imagine that this is a wall. So if your legs are super tight, you might need your blocks for this. And basically you're going to stand about a foot away from the wall, lean your butt into the to the real wall. Yours is real, I hope. And come into a forward fold. So I've been doing this a long time. I don't need the blocks, but if the ground is really far away, please rest your hands on blocks. We're going to be here for about 2 minutes, so we are going to hang out here for a little bit of time. Find a soft bend in the knees. And then just allow the body to melt here. Head relaxed, head heavy. Now, because this is a passive hold, it's sort of a yin style hold. In yin yoga, we're not going to our first sensation of stretch in a pose. So if your scale of sensation is 1 to 10, 1 being you feel nothing, 10 being like, ouch, it hurts, you want to look for being at like a 5 or 6. We call that your edge. So find your edge in this forward folds. Place where you feel something but not everything. And tune into what you feel. Probably a lot of sensation in the backs of the legs, maybe the low back as well, maybe the back of the neck. And as you tune into what you feel, allow your breath to deepen and just bathe the muscles. Really helps to breathe audibly when we're training flexibility, specifically out through the mouth. Long, easeful exhales. Promote relaxation. Not just in the mind, but actually in your muscles. We're about halfway through this hold. And just think of your whole body melting like ice cream on a hot day. Just giving into gravity, allowing the solid parts of you to become more fluid. You're doing so well. Let's take a deeper breath in. Sigh it out the mouth. And now very slowly, we're going to come out of this. Slow is the operative word. We've been folding forward for a while. So you really want to take your time to avoid a head rush. And just slowly bringing your spine tall. And just feeling afterflow of the pose. And then come back to the middle of your space. Shake out the legs. And then just come into a forward fold now. And see how it feels. You might feel some difference. And you're not comparing that difference to anyone else but you and how you felt at the start of this practice. Let's slowly come on back up. Thank you so much for joining me for this hamstring mobility flow. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to take a Shavasana, I highly recommend it if you have the time. Just let all this sink in. But if you have to go off to the rest of your day, enjoy, and I will see you again soon. Namaste.